Hello and welcome to week 10 of the GEA Plus Analysis Show. As you can see, Séamus Hickey is back in his green after getting plenty of abuse from some Dublin fans from last week. Some really good semi-finals. One in particular, I suppose, the Kilkenny and Tipperary one really stood out for a lot of people, despite a small bit of controversy towards the end around scoring. Nobody really anticipated the scoreline with the Cork Dublin game. Most people thought it would be slightly closer. But in fairness to Cork, they turned it on and they were incredible when it came into goal. So we might even start off with that, Séamus. Most impressed so far was Cork.
I was going to start off with your shirt and the fact that you took down the curtains and made a shirt out of them.
This is Southeast. This is Waterford.
Yeah, I was just about to say that looks like Waterford in the background. Yeah, but no, the Cork game. They came primed, right? So Cork came primed, but they had the warning light shot. So that's why it was going to be so hard for Dublin to repeat their performance against Cork. It was going to be very, very difficult because Cork had studied up everything that had gone well. You've actually got some great clips to actually show what Cork took away, and it was everything that went well against Limerick in Croker 2 weeks ago. So, listen, it was a tough task, but for me, 7 goals is something else. It's a tough way for Dublin to end their championship, I would say, because it's disappointing to have that totemic win against Limerick followed by such a non-event. The gains that were made by that win against Limerick for Dublin hurling, and kind of you lose some of the luster with a 20-point defeat, and it's a shame. But the reality is that Cork were sharp; they were razor sharp. The stick passing, the running. It just Dublin looked tired, and Dublin were a fit team. Dublin ran Limerick into the ground 2 weeks ago, but Cork's running just had them. They had them at 6s and 7s from the middle, from the inside line. It's just it was varied and it was devastating. And even
the obvious question here on this time is winning Munster or indeed Leinster, is that the golden ticket in many ways to get that break? I know you can't say when it comes to Kilkenny, but I'm saying in retrospect now, because you have so much time off to prepare yourself for a semi-final, is that the golden ticket in reality?
I don't think so. I think every season is so different that you just have to get the timing right no matter what way you go. Before, we used to have 6 weeks between Leinster finals and semi-finals, and you still had the provincial winners going through. You had now we have 4 weeks off. It just has to be managed, and every team, the likes of Kilkenny, are used to this. They've had years of winning Leinster, and Limerick the same, of winning Munster, had years of preparation. They got knocked off this year for the first time in 7 years. So Cork had to prepare this. This 4-week break for them is different. So they still managed it, came in primed, sharp, ready to go, and with the benefit of seeing their opponents 2 weeks before in a quarterfinal. So. I'm not convinced that the path favors one or the other. Normally, when you win your province, you're the best team in that competition, so that's a good place to be. So I'm always a thing of, if there's a cup up for grabs, whether it's league or provincial, you go to win it. So no, we can start by looking at some of the stuff that you mapped out, Noel. But for me, Cork disrupted Dublin. They completely knocked them off kilter from the possession game that they worked from puck out all the way up the field against Limerick. They knocked them off kilter, and from there, then that basis, that foundation for play was taken away from them.
The other question here I was thinking about myself over the last few days is, have Tip been the most consistent team this year? Right, take away the Cork game down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, because obviously they were down to 14 men before the ball was even thrown in. Have they been the most consistent bar that game? It's good, because you go talk about Cork. Cork got well bet up in the Gaelic grounds with a full team. So is that an argument?
Yeah, it's actually it's not a bad argument, but I would say that Tipperary have definitely been the most steadily improving team.
I mean,
yeah. Whereas Limerick and Cork both hit higher highs in the Munster. Whereas Tip, and I said this after the Munster Championship campaign, is that Liam Cahill had them improving as the year went on, and even in Ennis, even though it was a tight game against Clare, they still saw that out with I would say a good deal of composure. And they've had these end game situations where they've had to get better and adapt and learn. And so they brought that to bear then against Kilkenny. It was They're the most steadily improving team all year long, and full value for their place in the final.
Disappointed with some parts of Kilkenny's performance. You're going to probably touch on some of that, but overall, what was your...
Yeah, no, like I thought Kilkenny were the better team in general play. To score 30 points again, and to have chances for more. I'm surprised it didn't threaten the goal.
Yeah.
They didn't threaten their own goal. But again, to concede 4 goals, it's very, very difficult for a good team to concede that many goals and win games. It's just very, very difficult. And when I saw that in Nolan Park, when I saw Kilkenny concede 4 to Dublin, 5 to Dublin, I thought it was an anomaly, and I was willing to write it off. But unfortunately, it's just in big games, and the conditions were slippy, and it was tough. But then Tipperary's aggressiveness, so we talk about Cork. We talk about Cork's goal hunger, and their first option is goal, and they'll settle for the point. Tipper are very, very similar, and I think Noel McGrath said it exactly after. He said that desire for goals is something they talk about. This is what we target going into games. We want the major, and we want it early because we want to knock the other team off kilter. So it was very obvious how aggressive they were in chasing those, and they could have had more.
And you know what's funny? I might have watched Tip's backs a lot this year, and I don't want to use the word cynical because it's actually it's not cynical. But what they do is, if a team gets a run them or someone gets run them, they do a simple thing of holding a person back with a hand. That's kind of not a yellow card free, if that makes sense. It's just a little pull back with the arm, which can technically be seen as a free. And they're really
situational.
Yeah, but they're really
gameplay. Yeah, I hate that word cynical because it's situational gameplay. Like you do what you're allowed to do. Like the referee will intervene if it's otherwise. Like it's game management, and it's naive if you let the other team play the way they want to, uninhibited. And so I would say that Tipperary did adapt to that well, but they were 10 points to 4 down early in the game when it looked like Kilkenny were, and I looked at some of the forward play for Kilkenny. They were moving the ball so well and winning it in their own half back line, working it up the field. So much was good for Kilkenny that it was frustrating watching them concede the goals they conceded. And then some of them, particularly like Darren McCarthy's goal where Rowan Murphy got a touch. 9 times out of 10 he actually gets that. So it's just what could go wrong did go wrong for Kilkenny. And even when they had the 15 versus 14, it was Kilkenny were battle tested and composed in that final 10-minute spell, more so than Kilkenny.
Yeah. Okay. So I looked at the Cork puckout in particular. And Dublin got incredible success last week or the week before last against Limerick. It was really their platform to build on that kind of put them in the driver's seat against Limerick, despite obviously being down a man. So the key thing here was, I don't think that the Dublin management and players felt that Cork were actually going to go man for man in puckouts. I felt that Dublin thought Cork were going to actually stay zonal and actually stay in their positions like Limerick did. So as a result of that, what they tried to do is they tried to flood loads of balls in. And this was the first 15 minutes in particular they tried this puckout. So we can see there, the yellow one on the left, there's nobody there. So there's no one in the full back line, there's no one in the half back line. And the one in the white on the right-hand side with just the grass and the players, that's the space where Dublin tried to hit the ball for the first 15 minutes over and over again. Okay. Also, and this is really important, the Cork full forward line stayed incredibly close to the full back line because the full back line for Dublin were really, really potent when they got the ball against Limerick. They worked the ball and they got great success with it. So this one is one of the pockets that they tried it over and over again, where they got the ball in around a load of bodies. But as a consequence of that, then when it was turned over, there was bodies behind. And my next clip will show that. Okay. The other side of that, which I spoke a minute ago, this is the puck out that they were really successful against Limerick, where they went short. When they had bodies over, Limerick played with 2 inside. And when they went short with the ball, they could actually get their running game going, passing to someone, but also getting it over the half back line and into space. And this is something that we don't often see well when Limerick are playing. They also created a lot of frees. Here's Tom Morrissey going in very hard on Paddy Dial. creating a free. Whereas on Sunday or on Saturday, when the
Look at
ball
the high
went
press,
high press, and as a result, again, as we can see, there's bodies around the ball, but Rob comes out with it time and time again. Okay, here's another one. When the ball went high because they had the running game going, it allowed Curry to get in around the back, and you're going to talk about this in a minute. Get the ball around the back, break the ball to himself, and then pass it around. So that's really, really important. We can still see here's the shape again up the top. There's nobody in it, and ball again down to where the load of bodies are. Okay, so again, what they try to really do is they try to flood that side of the pitch, right? So in technical terms, this is a really good setup where they have people around the body to each side, and also you can see here that O'Sullivan is coming around the back. Okay, so while it's the front, you see John to the side, hoping that he's going to play the hurley and get it in. We also have 2 more players here, okay, which means now we've seen 5 Dublin players within the space of probably a 5 square radius, which obviously means what? There's a load of space in the back. So there's your half back and your centre back getting dragged out towards the ball. The only thing now Dalton needs to do is actually hit it into space. So basically what Dublin tried to do is they tried to push everyone up into a pocket where they felt they were going to win the breaking ball because they thought Cork were going to go zonal. But because Cork didn't go zonal, they had the same number of bodies, won the break, and it meant there was loads of room in front of Hoggy, in front of Hayes, in front of Connolly, and that absolutely murdered them for the first 15 minutes in particular.
And they got the ball in quick.
So quick. So when the ball is coming down, we can see the same thing. It's man on man, which Dublin didn't expect, because if they did, they wouldn't have done this for the first 15 minutes. Again, ball is broken down. We can see plenty of bodies around us. We'll start to see the space. So again, here's Healy. He's taking Paddy Doyle for a run out the field. He's taking him for a run out the field because Paddy Doyle is pushed up thinking that they're going to win the pocket. Because they don't win the pocket, the space is over the shoulder. Again, we see Darragh Fitzgibbon. Here's Barrett, again, going out the field because he knows that if they win the ball, he's trying to get off the likes of Hayes inside and hopefully create a scoring opportunity. So why was there so much space? There was so much space because Dublin flooded one side of the pitch. They didn't win the ball, and it created this much room in front of the full back line, which is next to impossible. Like, as a fullback, absolutely next to impossible. Now, in fairness, Lucy done incredibly well here to get across and get a flick in on Patrick Horgan. But that happens once or twice out of 10 times. We can see here, Wiley, great shot. Owen Downey comes out with the ball. But watch the speed here in which they transition the ball. Now, O'Leary nearly gets caught. But watch the people, right? Here on the top of the screen, we can see Decky Dalton. We can also see down below here, right, on the bottom, that's Healy. So that's your half back line there. And we can also see in the middle with the yellow helmet, that's Barrett. Look at the room that's inside. So now there's only 8 players inside of your 65. So as a back, that's an absolute nightmare because the vast majority of other people are in the other 65, which means once the ball breaks like this, it's creating huge difficulty for teams. Now, in fairness, Dublin did really well on some occasions, but they could have caught, like, Cork could have got 3 or 4 more goals. Even here, this after about 15 minutes, they decided to try and take the half back line out. Okay, so when Cork realised they were going to go short to the halfbacks, it allowed Darragh Fitzgibbon to actually go in as a second half back. So he went in as a second centre back, and it allowed him to go hold the position, and it allowed to Rob Downey to actually follow the man. So there wasn't actually a hole of space there. So really, really mature. So when all of a sudden they realised that they were actually changing play, Cork realised that Dublin weren't going to hold everyone to one side of the field. It then allowed Darragh Fitzgibbon to say, do you know what? This is what we talked about in training, that if they are going to the half-back line and they know someone like a Conor Burke or O'Donoghue is going to go along to the full-back line, they know that Rob is going to have to follow his man to make sure he doesn't create opportunities. So he's going to sit into the centre-back position. Anything that comes through the centre, I'm going to hold it.
Yeah, and you have to pick your poison here with Cork, because so you've got this. There's 2 games in the puckout on your own puckout. So Cork defending the opposition puckout. There's 2 games. It's the game that Cork, the shape that they take to restrict your options. I'm surprised that Dublin felt that they were going to get. I don't think they feared Cork's half back line.
No,
and I think Cork's half back line have been improving since the end of last year. In the Munster Championship, there was people having a lot of goals at Cork's defending, and their half back line in particular. But Coleman has improved. He only came back from an injury last year. Like this year, he's gotten improved. Rob Downey, when Cork were without Rob in the centre, when he went off injured against Limerick, like when he went off injured against Clare, they were a different team without him. So Joyce, Downey, and Coleman are a really, really good line. So Dublin thought they were going to get change off them. You know, a sign was on, they didn't. But as soon as the ball was over the Cork half forwards' heads, they're gone. It's off. They're off to the races. And you saw the Dublin half backline follow them there. You're going to have to, that you can't go past your own 65. You can't go into the opposition half to follow your man. There has to be a half forward line responsibility there, midfield responsibility. Who are very good at that is Tipperary.
Brilliant.
When Ronan Maher plays centre back, he doesn't allow the half back line to drift further out the field, and he'll only keep this rule of let's keep 5 in our half. If one of our half back goes back, that's fine, but that's not that huge space that you mapped out there in front of Brian Hayes and Alan Connolly. But key thing for me, just on the back of those clips, you take away what Dublin did really, really well. You're forcing them to pick. They have to be able to prove that they can play another way. And I just thought that they couldn't. So they had a huge success against Limerick, doing the same thing over and over again, and Limerick let them play out from the back. Take that away from them. Can they play a different way? Can they go direct more? Can they win in their half forward line with more disadvantageous ball, more 60-40 ball? Can they win that themselves? And I'd say they're a young team. They're going to get better. So it's not the end of the world. But Cork, for me, they just Pat Ryan had it set up exceptionally well, and it gave Dublin no hope in a game that they needed everything to go right again. And
in fairness, in the second half when he run on Dolan Burke, they hit puckouts into space on the left-hand side, which is his good catching angle because he's left over right. So it allowed him to run from the centre across. But like at that stage, it was kind of like a hidden hope opportunity for him. They were never really going to put any dent into the scoreline. So there is definitely opportunities for him to change specific things, but for the first 15 minutes, they got absolutely schooled in trying to like flood everyone into one side of the pitch on the hope that they were going to get change at the Cork. But Cork followed them, were physical enough, probably had more hurling done, in fairness to them, were better set up.
But they know Sutcliffe or Crummy or real puck out winning threat. Like they didn't have a ball winner to do that. Yeah, and considering Cork were so good at getting to the breaks, and we'll talk about that. But I'm just surprised that they went at it the way they did.
The second thing that I kind of looked at this week, and it is, and you know what, it worked really well last year, but it probably wasn't as defined and as well schooled as it is now. But it's how Collins in goal for Cork. Firstly, the distance that he gets on the puck, we haven't been speaking about that. Generally, we speak about Cork keepers and being able to arrow a ball to someone in the half back line or someone running through midfield or someone in the half forward line. But he's pinging the ball to the far side of the pitch over the half back line and into the hurling D, not to the football league, to the hurling D. But we're not talking about it. And he's actually clearing the half back line. And like the most fundamental position and role of a half back is to stop the ball going into your full back.
To stop the ball.
And because he's hitting such distance, it's actually taken them completely out of it. So we can see here Hayes, he's highlighted. And this kind of seems to me from watching a lot of Hayes over the last kind of 2 years is once he gets into that D, Collins realizes that that's his position and the Cork players know that the ball is actually coming to him. So we can see here Collins realizes that Hayes has gone there and he now realizes that there's also someone close to him. So when the ball goes over Hayes, they can say, you know what, let's get on to this. He's either going to break it in front of himself or he's going to break it in behind. So we can now start to see more and more players are starting to flood. So when Collins hits the ball and the ball goes all the way down, more or less, I'd say if you take Collins out of it, it'll probably land on the 21. It takes the half back line midfield out of position. But look where it's ending up. It's ending up nearly on their own D, and that's the football D. Now, in fairness, Bellew was a great block here, but this happened over and over and over again. It's just the distance that he's getting. He takes out so many players. Like, there's your half-back line completely gone. And he's standing on that D with Paddy Smith, and it's landing literally where the two of them are pushing. Like, that's an incredible pocket and something that we probably don't talk about enough. You will probably talk about Shelley in a minute, but again, Shelley is probably after been put in the keeper position for Tipperary merely because of his distance. The second thing that I looked at here is look at the space that he holds. Right, he holds this space, and it's very hard as a full back or somebody that's marking him to try and outwit him because there's so much room around him and he's so big and physical. It's very easy for him to push you out of the way. To me, I don't think Paddy Smith does a lot wrong here. Like, he's on the right side of him, he's trying to grapple with one hand, but because Hayes is so big and so physical, all he needs to do is take a little touch down and Healy is onto it. Now, this was an incredible
goal. Hard to do. Like,
yeah,
it's so hard. Is so hard to do.
Do you know what? Declan Dalton here, his throw up and pretend to hit the ball was the one that was something that we didn't discuss and nobody discussed it. It was a little feint. The Dublin player went to him and it allowed him to pop the pass. Here we can see in position, hands are up. He's looking for the ball and he's demanding the ball, which is something like that you want to see out of your full back, out of your full forward line. Is I want the ball down top, they give it to me here. But in this particular instance, when the ball goes long, we can see here this is Darragh Fitzgibbon. Darragh Fitzgibbon realizes the ball is going long because he's seeing Hayes in that zone. So when the ball goes long by Collins, it's Darragh Fitzgibbon that's getting on the break because why? He knows where the ball is coming to. So it's a little wrestle with himself. O'Donoghue, ball bounces, bang, he's through the middle. Some could argue he could have kept going and potentially got a goal. I wouldn't agree.
Some finish. I love that finish. Yeah.
Great score. So, like, if Tip want to try and stop some of their threats, points and goals, it's going to be maybe a Breen or a Connolly to try and wrestle with Hayes to see what they can drill. They're not going to be 100% successful on this because he's so big and physical. He can catch the ball, he can break it in behind, he can break it in front. And it's a hard thing to do when you're someone against you is so big and so strong and incredibly athletic as well.
But what we're going to see now, what you're going to see is Tipperary have size down the middle that Dublin just did not have either. Now it's that targeting, especially down the centre, like it's hard to overstate. The proximity of the ball to goal is the danger, and we've spoken about this before, right? So if you're putting that ball out to the side to Hayes, if he wins it, he's still very dangerous, right? But he's less dangerous than if he wins it in the middle, or if the break comes in the middle and someone runs onto it. If someone runs onto the break on the sideline, well, then they probably have a good chance of a point. If you run onto the break on the D, you literally only have to run 6 good strides before you have a shot at goal.
Yeah,
like that's it, ball in hand. And then, you know, it's so dangerous and it's so hard to defend them because Shane Barrett did it multiple times where he came off the middle level, he held the middle and then ran into the space on the side that Healy was after getting out of or Dalton was after getting out of. And then you put it down on top of Dalton, who's well able to win his own ball. So you've given it about 4, 5, 6 clips that they actually put down on top of Hayes. That's a lot of rain and ball down on top of one person. But they did vary it up as well so that Dublin couldn't take the gamble and sit off the half-hour line. So it's Tipperary, I think, are better equipped to deal with that. But it's a nightmare. Like if the ball comes down, and even if you do well, let's say Paddy Smith got that block there instead of Brian Hayes, Darragh Fitzgibbon has run onto it.
Yeah, 100%. Or Shane Barrett has run in the middle.
Yeah, it's you know, there's no good option there. So I see it a bit later, maybe some ways to say, but Cork have weaponized this up with the Hurley getting ball to ground, and I put a few pieces together because Tipperary have to figure a way out around this. You know, whether it was Kilkenny who got there or Tipperary, and you've shown this clip already, but here we have Owen Downey. Look at this, like it's just Downey, Owen, and Rob are able to catch ball. We saw Rob do it earlier, but like this fast ball in is enabled by the fact that we know the ball is going to ground. We're getting on breaks, so Cork have trained specifically on breaks and breaks to the front where they are the ones breaking down the ball. Here we have Conor Donoghue put the long ball in, and again you showed Sean Donoghue go up himself. Great. Just I've no interest in playing the hand here. I just want to get the ball down. He does it really well to break it to himself. But then look, ball away, fast ball up the field, good ball up to the forwards. And because of the puck out setup, like you said, Noel, they had to go long. And when they went long again, here we have Rob Downey this time, up tall, Hurley, ball down, Tim O'Mahony onto the break, fast ball away. It's just and a crossfield ball too. So like it's just when everybody's on the same page, it's hard to appreciate how important that is. And Healy, Barrett, and Dalton, when Séamus Hickey is there, he knows when that ball is going down there, we're looking to get the Hurley to it and get it to ground. And when it goes to ground, then we're looking for breaks. They're so in sync. And this goal comes off of this weaponizing of get up, get Hurley up. We don't have to go grappling for hand. Let's get the ball up. Joyce is in perfect position here below Owen Downey again. Ball down. Rob Downey's there. Christopher Joyce is there as well. So like, it's just, there's ways to negate that. Limerick did it in the Munster Championship to a degree, where they started wrapping arms so that Cork didn't have the free hand to go up. Brian Hayes tried it on Sean Finn, but Sean Finn actually had his arms pinned. And you can't get the hurley up then to break the ball. So Tipperary are going to have to actually train that. They're going to have to train a way to actually get the Cork players to pin the pin, or to get the Tipperary players to pin the Cork hurley hand, so that either they go up to fetch it with the hand, or that it's a physical tussle under the ball, because Cork they're setting up so much running plays, goal threat off of ball to ground.
It's funny because this is the first time in all of doing this, like last year and this year, that both was actually picked out the same clips. The only difference here was the fact that I actually picked out a different point, and the different point was the one time that Curry got the ball inside. What did O'Leary do? O'Leary decided to do what most good cornerbacks.
So he goes up with the hurley here and misses. Yeah, he goes up the hurley and misses, and puts it back.
You'll see it on the other angle. What he does is he doesn't want to break in the ball inside, because Cork are so cool not to let the ball inside. He pulls the jersey so it gives them time to get back, and like that is incredibly important because they don't want to get the run.
But it's like, and this is this. So like defending, do you give away the free 40 yards out, or the penalty inside, or the 21-yard free? Like if you're beaten and there's space behind you, especially for a full back line we just don't have. We didn't have that much. No, fallback. We didn't have it. So the reality is, you make your decision early or late. If you make your decision late, it's too late. So it is a good sign of a defense that they're learning, though. That
but they're all on the same. They're all on the same hymn sheet, in the sense that they all know what they need to do, and they also have obviously discussed, if something does happen, what we try and do to try and rectify that.
Yeah. Recovery scenarios, whether it's cover or whether it's scenario planning. Like, you can't give away the black card, so foul has to happen here.
Yeah, so that's probably enough talking now from the Dublin Cork game. Séamus, you're going to pick out a couple of clips that you were impressed by and maybe less impressed by from the Kilkenny Tipperary game.
Listen, it was a cracking game, like a super competitive game, and I couldn't see it going any other way. Like, it was a one-score game to me 2 weeks ago. Leading into this, it was always going to be tight. But for me, we can say that Kilkenny had the numbers and everything late in the game, but like, they built a really good foundation early in the game. What I looked at first was how well Kilkenny's forwards were playing, and we'll talk then about maybe even some of the mishaps they had at the back for the goals. But they really were operating at a really high level. In their full forward line, particularly between Keown and Cody, they just moved the ball around really well. John Donnelly to me is an underrated guy. Like, the way he distributed ball, the crossfield ball was always the option. Cody here, vision, looking for Mossy. Himself and Mossy worked so well together, and that's why I thought Kilkenny would win when Cody was back, because of how good he is to win ball and then distribute it. Mullen, when he did get on ball, he had a tough day, I thought, overall. But look at Kilkenny, like, it's just the control. But Mossy, great hands. Like, Michael Breen is no slouch. Like, he's on a good player, a good defender. It's just that Kilkenny were winning their ball inside and out most of the day. And like, look at this ball transfer to Jordan Malloy. Like, that's Kilkenny operating at their best. And they had a lot of this. Tipperary had no answer for this how they were able to move the ball and cut them apart, especially in the first half. Like, Hugh Lawler, he has one of these every game, one of these incredible catch of the year candidates. And then Deegan was really good in the first half, distributing the ball. Like, Billy Ryan was excellent. John Donnelly, very, very good. TJ was good. Like, their six forwards played well. Mullen, again, was quieter in the second half, but it was still very good. Like, Hugh Lawler, again, not just a fullback, well able to play ball. To me, this is a disaster for Robert Doyle, and he actually plays it impeccably. Stands him up, cuts off goal. I give up the point there every day. Sean Finn is another good example of when he's got a corner forward in that scenario, he'll let him shoot, and he uses 38-inch hurley to try and get a block in it. But the ball distribution for Kilkenny, the way they were moving the ball around, like 30 points, team that scores 30 points should be in control of most games. Like it's like they set themselves up for success from a forwards attacking perspective. So it's hard to understand how they were conceding so much at the back. I don't know what you thought of the
I thought Mullen probably had a quieter game. John Donnelly for last season was without a shadow of a doubt Kilkenny's best player, and similar enough this year, absolutely fantastic player, great vision. Has been probably knocking around for quite a few years before he's after holding his position, but his hurling ability, his hands, his lovely soft hands. But the big thing for me is his touch. He has like the nicest touch, ball to hand, effortless. Was exceptional. But they looked like they were scoring easier. And psychologically, that can be very, very frustrating and difficult for the opposition. When you're trying so hard to get a point or a shot off, and you go up the other end and they are getting it pretty freely, it does have an impact on you, because you feel yourself like, geez, we're working so hard back here. And mentally it drains you more than anything else. So I thought that because Kilkenny's flow was really nice, really good, looked very well structured, didn't really look they were going to concede goals early on. It looked like that they were man on man. They looked really, really decent. And obviously then the goals changed completely. It went from a little, dribble of a game to all of a sudden, bang, the water was full tilt and Tip were coming hard. And Kilkenny kind of struggled for large periods of that game afterwards.
Yeah, no, it was the goals then that undermined all that good attacking play. So again, like Tipperary only had one goal after 12, 13 minutes. So that was the only score they had. And Kilkenny were after racking up 8 points. So like they were up 5 points, going well. It's just then we say who was actually very, very big for Tipperary in the middle of the field was Stakelum. Conor Stakelum, outside of he actually kept them tethered to the game in the first 15 minutes. His 2 scores were huge. So that actually midfield, Jordan Malloy played well, Keane Kenny played well, Willie Connors got on good.
I actually thought Willie Connors played very well in that period, because when the ball was down in the middle, it was him that was kicking the ball back to Ronan Maher or back to some Tip player like a Connolly coming onto it to be able to win the ball and bring it up the field. But like they just
struggled for Tipperary, like yeah.
And maybe we underestimate the implications of playing in somewhere like Croke Park. Like, listen, as you said to Noel McGrath, a lot of lads hadn't ever been in Croke Park and their mind played in Croke Park. So it's a very different place than going to a Thurles to train or to play, because you're kind of used to playing there, or go down to a Welsh Park or a Gaelic grounds, because you do that every year. Whereas you go into a Croke Park, for a lot of these lads, it's new scenery. It's a very different experience. You have a full crowd in there. And there's huge expectations as well.
Yeah, no, and Kilkenny, like you said, Kilkenny are used to playing there, every year. So it is challenging. Like, but it's funny considering that Stakelum kept him in touch. Then, just the 3 goals that Tipperary scored in the first half, particularly, is what I looked at. It's fundamentally when a team like Tipperary is goal aggressive, you have to make adjustments in terms of the risks you take. And it's funny because we look at the first one, because I queued up. Richie Reid actually takes a very conservative approach, which is gas. So the ball comes down here, and I froze it. So Richie circled here inside the 21. He'd retreated from centre back because he didn't want the ball to break in behind for the goal. But nobody from midfield tracked Jake Morris, who was circled out here on the arc, and he picks it up. Like, surely he should be going for a point here, but he actually carries it at goal. And look, he goes for goal, and it just, again, for Kilkenny's point of view, it's just unlucky that it actually broke out to John McGrath. But Richie made a decision to go away from his man, but nobody picked up and tracked him back. Here we have long ball in. Shane Murphy comes out. Mikey Butler, 2 of them commit to the same ball. We saw this in Nolan Park against Dublin. So now Darren McCarthy's through. Ball breaks to him, and he's one-on-one with the goalie. Hugh Lawler gets back. Well, there's actually a good effort to actually get a block in, because you can actually see McCarthy's going away holding his hand. So the Kilkenny players did get back, but the 2 men up for the ball, like, you just can't recover from it. Willie Connors, great ball down the throat. Here we have Jason Ford is running to the ball, knows that he's not going to get it, checks the contact on Mikey Butler, and knows that it's Darren McCarthy's ball. So he shakes Mikey Butler, as soon as he shakes him, he's not going to contest the ball now. He's leaving it to McCarthy. And his run is an angled run. It's a goal. I found this unbelievable. And like, he was man of the match for a reason. And if McCarthy doesn't slip there, it's actually a better chance. But what a finish. Absolutely unbelievable. But Butler commits to that ball thinking that it was Ford that was going to play it, but it was McCarthy coming out that was taking the play, and Ford had made that decision early to cut in. And again, footing was actually a problem for a lot of players, but which I struggle with, right? Because I think if you're wearing molded studs in Croke Park, I think it's bananas, and especially on a day that has had rain. Like, yeah, I get given up to that. Even in my own dressing room. Even my own dressing room now, currently now at club, like I just, why would you take the risk? If you slip in the backs, there's no recovery. If you slip in the forwards, like Willie Connor slipped out the field, was able to get up again and hit the ball in, whereas you don't get that opportunity inside. So, you know, if you're slipping, there's very little excuses. And for me, yeah, it's hard. Mikey commits to it,
but even like
not only did he commit to it, he slips.
I thought Mikey was actually one of his poor games because maybe the expectation of
and he doesn't have many. Like, no, I could count him on one hand.
Maybe that's why we're a bit critical of him. But like, even his positional sense there, like, I don't understand why he was like so close to Ford in the first instance. He probably needed to take a step closer to goal, because if Ford even got that ball, Ford is going to run around him anyway. So why he didn't angle his run to try and cut off that space? Like, he was never going to win the foot race there because Ford's in front of him.
But he backs himself to win that foot race, and he has won it. He has won it a lot of the times. But the problem was that Ford didn't actually go 100% for the ball, because he actually checked his run. Yeah, he checked his run, took the contact, because he decelerated and he said, "Okay, that's Dara's ball," and he goes on. So it was really done by Tipperary, and it just, the three of them all had instances of things that were unfortunate, that went wrong for Kilkenny in the backs. But against a team that are so aggressive, you don't get to recover from it, and that's it. Another thing I looked at then was how Kilkenny, and we looked at, so Limerick against Dublin, how Limerick sat off Dublin and allowed them the short puck out and work out and avoid the long puck out to Limerick's half back line were strong. And Limerick's half back line didn't actually puck a ball in the larger sense. But to allow Reece Shelley the give and go puck outs was wild to me, absolutely wild. Like, look, he's got a long puck out anyway. He's hitting from his 21 now, and I just froze it here. Like, look where it lands. All right, it's down here. It's inside the 21. It's on the 14. You can see the football penalty spot where Hugh Lawler and John McGrath are playing here. And John McGrath he played such a perfect game on Lawler. Like, he was so good. He's like the perfect foil, because he's rangy, he's tall, he's strong.
Good in the air, he's very smart. His footwork,
got great touch. In fairness, it was, if you're talking about a man-to-man matchup, I wouldn't favour too many people against Lawler. I wouldn't. No. And Lawler got his balls too, like, and he came out and he was able to play it. But John McGrath was excellent. And then when they swapped himself for Noel in the second half, it was, you know, he'd done his job, and Noel scored that amazing point from the Cusack stand side to keep the tip ahead. Like, so, you know, the McGrath brothers are really, you know, they're really stepping up this year. And John has been out of favour, like, so.
Yes.
Ian Cahill hasn't been giving him, like, he hasn't given him a chance up until this year, and this year he's just able to take it with both hands. I was really impressed with him. But that Reece Shelley puck out, it happened, I think, 6 times in the game, and every time, like we were talking about with Collins, that ball is landing in a dangerous area every time. Everything has to go right for the defenders to get that ball out. Only one small thing has to go right for the forwards to get a score. And it's,
you see the difference there when Brennan was under pressure by Conley for the double bucket. It's a loop ball, and the distance isn't there.
And it hangs and it lands in the first point.
We said this in the open. We said this in the open. The reason that Shelley is in there is because of his pocket. Like, that's the
not only now. In fairness, I don't want to disrespect Shelley, because he's actually made some super saves the last couple of games. But
primarily it is.
At the time when the change was made, he was in there for his distance and his puckouts. Yeah. No, so it hurts. Are you going
to finish us off on some Kilkenny lack of composure? Is that what you're?
Well, lack of composure is a hard one, right? Because I would say Limerick's close out of the Dublin game, that was a lack of composure, because it was mistake after mistake after mistake. But there was definitely elements of the Kilkenny performance at the back, primarily, sadly, where they just, again, taking time on the ball. Like Reece Shelley made a save in the last 10 minutes in the Kilkenny game and was able to walk the ball out, play a short ball out to half back in chaos. He was able to keep his head, keep his cool, play a good ball out. Here's just a couple of instances, especially like this is in the first half. Another Reece Shelley puckout where he hits from the 21. This was after the 3 goals have been scored, right? And we got 4 players now coming in under a high ball. It's a disaster for defenses. It's perfect for the forwards. But there's a smell of desperation. Your body's hitting the deck, flying in at it. Owen Murphy hits the ball out. It's turned over here by Mullen. Owen Connolly gets it. Like this fella, lads, for a fullback, he's
unbelievable.
His wrists are incredible. Like the 2 points he scored in the first half were absolutely unreal. Now he was playing centre back while Maher was back marking TJ. But here we have Richie Reid in the second half. This is with 15 men against 14. No need to make that pass so quick. Like especially a fella the quality of Richie. Like Richie Reid's number one trait is
what a score.
His ball distribution and his ability to throw it around. But because he rushes the pass, look at that score from forward. Here then ball breaks, ball in the middle here. Richie picks it up. Now this is what I thought they should have done with the extra man, was work it out from the back instead of launching it. But Paddy, like again, he's a super player, and just decisions in the moment in a tight game are what define it. Now we've got a scrap, we've got a rush for ball. I pause it here just to give you an idea. Like there's 9 Kilkenny players there, right, and 10 with Owen Murphy. There's Oisin O'Donoghue who is in the white helmet here on the D. There's no danger here. There should be no danger. A player shouldn't be able to swing a hurley there. It's just there's a part composure, part series of unfortunate events. But 4 goals means that you weren't unlucky. 4 goals means that you didn't defend well. 2 goals can be unlucky, but 4 goals means that it wasn't your day.
Okay, so I'm
very how are we going to unpack that?
No, I agree with what you're saying. I'm just very surprised because we haven't actually seen a Kilkenny team lose that level of concentration coming down the stretch to a 14-man team. They played better. Like they were the better team over the 70+ minutes, in my view.
I would have thought so. Outside of 4 key scores.
Yeah. So that's why I was slightly surprised. But even the manner in which he got that goal, like there was 4 people hanging out of him, 4 Kilkenny lads hanging out of him to still be able to get a strike off, and a good strike. Yeah, it's not a strike. It's not one that dribbles across the ground. It's a decent strike.
Yeah, and it's against one of the best keepers in the game. Like, so it has to be somewhere where you can't reach it. So everything went right in that scenario for Tip. Like after McCarthy gets sent off, Jake Morris is the first one up. He gets a score. Jake Morris again. He did it against Cork when McCarthy got sent off. Up to him. Don't worry about it. Off the field. Don't worry. We'll take care of the rest of it. Morris gets the score. Noel gets the score. Ford gets the score. Like talking about big men standing up. And I feel for TJ because TJ's down there and he's done it so many times. Like he just needs somebody to be able to grab it and lead the charge for him. Because he's playing on an exceptional length of a career. Like, but he doesn't have much time left, and he needs the others to carry him a bit because he's done it for so long. So I was disappointed for Kilkenny because that's a very good team. It's a very, very good team. Individually, they match up well against pretty much any team, and I thought that they were progressing, but to a point where they'd really challenge whoever they met if they could get through. But to me, it's just another year for Kilkenny where they've won Leinster and had 2 wobbles. They've had those patches of games where they tuned out in Leinster, translated into defensive lapses in an All-Ireland semi-final.
So let's wrap up on one name. I don't want a big spiel. Who's going to win the All-Ireland?
I think Cork win the All-Ireland. Simple as. I think they're too. I genuinely think they're a difficult team for Tipperary to beat. I honestly think that the 14 men against that. I know that was a non-event, but I don't think Tipperary match up well against Cork. The league final wasn't good for them. The championship round robin in Munster was supposed to be like some bit of redemption, and it didn't turn out that way. But I think Cork win this. I think they're too hard to stop.
So you heard it here first.
What are you doing, Noel? What, you can't sit in the fence now. I'm
Cork. I'm absolutely Cork. I think that Cork are a lot further down the road than what Tipperary are in terms of personnel, in terms of their tactical awareness, in terms of their experience going to Croke Park on our Ireland final day. There's plenty of stories where fellas left their nerves in the tunnel at Croke Park once they ran out and they heard the noise before they even got to the pitch. So, like, that experience is a difficult one to try and mimic. I think it's going to be a hugely intense battle, but I just think that the firepower coming down the stretch, in particular, the likes of your Kingstons, Conor Lahans, Séamus Harnady's, who all weren't starting. Robbie O'Flynn, like, geez, what a great player to bring on. Even the likes of Jack O'Connor, we see coming on, incredible pace to burn people. It's hard to see it.
But, you know, and it's again, right? There's plenty of scenarios where Tipperary can win this, but I would say this All Ireland is played 10 times. I think Cork wins 7.
Yeah,
you know, that's the way I'm judging it. Like,
okay, so you're given a 70% chance of Cork winning. Right, Séamus, thanks as usual. Keep wearing the green shirts. It's time to go back to the pool, look after some children, make sure they're happy. So from Séamus, myself, thanks a million, and we will see you soon.
Fair play, Nolly. Enjoy the pool.
I will, of course. Don't worry.